Today, I'm going to tell you why marijuana should not be a legalized substance in the United States. If marijuana were to be legalized in America, the United States would experience adverse effects in education. Our country would also see an increase in the amount of treatment and addiction rates of marijuana users. Also, another controversial topic when discussing the legalization of marijuana in America is whether or not legally smoking marijuana for medical purposes meets the standards of modern medicine. Marijuana has been proven to have negative effects on users' mental health by slowing brain function and impairing cognitive judgment. Marijuana is also very addictive, which causes a high rate of dependence among its users. The drug has also been proven to deteriorate physical health and activity, and studies have shown that those testing positive for marijuana had job absentee rates up to 75 times higher than non-users. Do we really want to legalize a drug that would cause the loss of millions more of potentially productive Americans on top of the numbers that we've already lost? If we legalize marijuana, do we move on from there to eventually legalizing drugs like heroin, cocaine, or meth? Legalizing marijuana in the United States would cause adverse effects in education. The legalization of marijuana would cause children and adolescents to be more exposed to the drug, which would eventually increase the number of children and teen marijuana users. It would also increase the number of students being high when arriving at school, which does not account for much of an education at all. Albert Einstein once stated, "Intellectual growth should commence at birth and only cease at death." Marijuana has been proven to seriously diminish critical thinking skills related to attention, memory, and learning among people under the age of 18. Regular use of marijuana compromises the ability to learn and to remember information by impairing the ability to focus, sustain, and shift attention. Using marijuana for extensive periods of time will reduce the ability to establish and assimilate complex information. The American Medical Association made the statement that heavy cannabis use in adolescents causes persistent impairments in neurocognitive performance and IQ, and use is associated with increased rates of anxiety, mood, and psychotic thought disorders. John Van Til states, "The future of any society relies on its youth. Why would we legalize a drug that could impair the development of the youth in the United States if the future of our country depends on them?" Another reason marijuana should not be legalized in the United States is because treatment and addiction rates would rise. Being legalized, marijuana would become more easily accessible and would create new users, which would cause addiction rates to increase, and more addicts means more demand for treatment programs. Also, the users who are already addicted to marijuana would have an even harder time completing the treatment programs due to the availability of the drug. In 2008, marijuana use accounted for 4.2 million of the 7 million people ages 12 years and older classified with dependence on or abuse of an illicit drug. That means that about 2/3 of Americans who suffer from any substance use disorder are suffering from marijuana abuse or marijuana dependence. Dr. Drew Pinsky states, "I've been treating marijuana addiction for 20 years. When people are addicted to marijuana, cocaine, and alcohol, the drug they have the most difficult time giving up is the marijuana. It is extremely addictive for some people. I think that's where people get confused. It's not very addictive for many people. It's a small subset of people with genetic potential for addiction. But for them, it is really tough. You only need to talk to them. They'll tell you how tough it is." Marijuana being used for medical purposes does not meet the standard of modern medicine. Think about this. When has smoking ever been accepted as a method of administering medicine? Consistent users of marijuana encounter medical issues with their lungs as much as 20 years earlier than cigarette smokers. As well as injuring the lungs, smoking marijuana can cause injuries of the brain, interfere with fertility, impair driving ability, and have negative effects on the immune system. A significant problem with marijuana being used for medical purposes is because it's not approved by the Federal Drug Administration. Without proper approval from the FDA, guidelines for the use of marijuana have not been established. These guidelines consist of dose quantity, frequency of the dose, and how marijuana interacts with other medications. These guidelines have been established for mostly every other drug being used for medical purposes. Why should marijuana be regulated any differently? It is apparent that the legalization of marijuana would have an overall negative effect on individuals of all ages. It is a hazardous drug that deteriorates mental and physical health, causes life-altering addiction, and affects work ethic. It is an addition to the life-threatening driving while impaired issue that our country already has. It is also often referred to as the gateway drug, known for opening the door for marijuana users to try harder drugs. Marijuana is not a substance that would have positive effects on our country, and I believe that it would do more harm than good. It should continue to be an illegal substance.